Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good evening, my friends. This is Angy Stewart from InnerLight, and we are here live on Kardec Radio. Again, another Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time to talk about this beautiful book, What is Spiritism? It's a great book. It's like a summary of the whole Spiritist philosophy, letting us understand exactly what is right and what is wrong, how we should behave, how we should explain to our friends, our family, what is Spiritism, especially with the ideas of Kardec. He created this book with like a simulation of conversations he had with hundreds and hundreds of people, and he put together this summary. He put all this information together, helping us how to deal with people that do not believe at all, people that are like more or less, and people who actually believe, but sometimes believe too much, not really understand, just believe because heard someone talking about it. So this is a great book where Kardec demonstrates all these different sides and how we should approach each one. It's really excellent. And our topic of today is also excellent. We are going to be talking about the opposition of science. So this is like the title of like how Kardec likes to separate, to let us know what it will be talked that day. And I want to share with you my screen so we can comment. This study is very short. It's just like 20 minutes. So we talk a little bit every time we meet, but it's always excellent to be able to dive into this type of studies that are much, much deeper. So I will share with you. Here is the screen. So the title of today is Opposition of Science. So it's always done like a visitor that will be talking to Kardec, will be asking Kardec questions, and he will be explaining. So this visitor today, he is talking about science. So he goes like this. You say you are supported by facts, but you are opposed by the opinion of learned individuals. So basically, this visitor is telling Kardec that, well, you're saying that what you follow is based on facts. This is really scientific, but there are scientists that are actually against it. That's basically the idea that this person is bringing to Kardec. And then he continues. Why didn't they focus on the turning tables phenomenon? So this visitor is basically telling Kardec, you know, why the scientists didn't focus on the turning table. Because in his mind, the phenomena of a mediumship that made the tables to move, and later on, people start having communications through the tables without knowing this was actually mediumship, without knowing that they actually needed an ostensive medium to have these communications. Without a ostensive medium, there wouldn't be any type of communications, any type of turning tables. So basically he's saying why you didn't introduce the turning tables to the scholars, because this would make them to understand, to believe. And then he continued. Aren't learned individuals the guiding light of the nations? And isn't it their duty to spread the light? So he's telling Kardec that Kardec needs a lot of people that are bright, that studied a lot, because only with these people that are scholars, that are well instructed, the Spiritist movement will actually flourish. That's his idea. But the thing is, like, he really doesn't know or didn't know spiritism, because Kardec is gonna answer him in a way that he did not expect. So he says, I must inform you that, that you are gravely mistaken by saying that all learned individuals are against us. It is precisely among the enlightened classes in all the countries of the world that the Spiritism has won the most converts. And then he gives a lot of examples. He gives like physicians, judges, professors, and so many others. And then he said, learned persons are not only to be found within science and within established organizations. So basically, he is telling the visitor, you are mistaken. There are lots and lots and lots of learned individuals who follow the Spiritism, who actually understood it and are following it. Why do I like to say understood? Because spiritism has to be understood. If you just believe in it, if you just like, yeah, I heard of and I believe, I think it's good. As soon as someone else with real doubts, or someone from a different philosophy, a different religion that's very strong, we will start challenging you to understand why you follow spiritism, why you believe in spiritism. You will not know how to answer. You will be full of doubts, and maybe even what you think is right, you will start questioning. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's not that, because you don't actually know it deeply. So yes, it's wonderful to watch lectures, to listen to the speakers talking, but it's really important that we all study the basic, especially the basic of the codification, the Kardec codification. They are the 5 books of the Pentateuch, where the first book is the Spirit's book. It's very important for us to understand, to have read and studied. To have read is not enough, because we read a lot of things and you don't remember. But when you study in a group, especially when you have discussions, when you go little by little, paragraph by paragraph, reading and interpreting, that's when you really start understanding and memorizing what you are reading. And then Kardec is telling him, listen, the people who actually enjoy studying are the ones who are followers of spiritism. Even if spiritism is for everybody, everybody. And in that time, imagine in the 1800s, that it was not like nowadays. Nowadays, it's very common for everybody to finish high school, for example. But in the past, no, it was not common at all. Like basic education was actually rare. People worked much more with their hands than with their brain. So yes, the basic education was just reading and knowing how to sign your name, or write few sentences. But to be a professor, to be a doctor, a judge, it was much more rare. If nowadays it's already very difficult, imagine in the 1800s, much more difficult. And then Kardec continues. Let me show you the text. Then Kardec continued. Hasn't science rejected the pipe dreams of a multitude of discoveries that later glorified the memory of their authors? So Kardec here is basically explaining that science, many times science has made mistakes. Many times science have said things were wrong when things were right. Many times science have said this is impossible. We can't prove, we can't do anything with that. And then later on, different studies, different researchers actually discovered what was missing, and boom, something actually happened. And the previous idea was right. So this is important for us to understand. Just because science is saying something right now, no, it's not possible, it does not mean it is really impossible. The first thing we have to understand is that we don't know everything. Even the researchers, even the scientists, they don't know everything. That's why they have to continue studying all the time. Think about the pandemic, think about COVID-19. So when COVID-19 happened, it was like a boom. Everybody was like, they didn't know what to do. They were creating protocols every day. Oh, it can be transmitted like this, maybe like that, no, like this too. They didn't know. So this was being discovered little by little. As the disease starts spreading, that's when they start putting things together. And they started like, oh, okay, it's actually like this, not like that. So things start like being built for the first time. Even if there were similar pandemics, not exactly like that, but similar. For example, SARS, it was similar, but not the same. So they had to relearn everything. So this is why we can say, oh, science cannot prove, so it does not exist, or it is wrong, because it might be not. That's why I like the concept of a quantum physics. I don't understand anything about physics at all. My son loves physics and he loves quantum physics. And the very little he explained to me basically is like quantum physics is something that can happen, but at the same time cannot happen. And it's very difficult to prove which one is right or wrong. Like very difficult and confusing. But that's science. Science is like that. So this last point is super interesting. France, so now Kardec is telling him, France was deprived of the steam power enterprise. So he's saying, remember that France was deprived from the steam power? And then he said, when Fulton came to the field at Bologna to present his theory to Napoleon first, who then recommended its immediate examination to the Institute, didn't the Institute conclude that such a theory was an impractical dream? So when I read that, I was like, wait, Napoleon and the Fulton, and I remember that the Fulton is an avenue very famous in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm like, let's understand better who was this Fulton, because I knew Fulton was an inventor, and he had something related to the ships, but I really didn't know much about it. And then I got this page. Let me see if you can see. Yes. Look, this is a Wikipedia. You can get all kinds of details about Fulton. So Robert Fulton, basically, this portion here is the most interesting one. That says that in the 1800s, Fulton had been commissioned by Napoleon Bonaparte. So this is the idea that Kardec is explaining here. So Napoleon actually recommended to his scientists, to the Institute of Science, to understand what Fulton was talking about, the steam power. And then they said his idea was an impractical dream. Isn't this amazing? The scientists from France rejected the idea of a steamboat in the 1800s. And then if you go to the Wikipedia of Robert Fulton, you can see that he was not well received in France, and then he went to England. And in England, they embraced his ideas. They accepted, they fully developed the steamboat, and even he created the first submarine and later on the torpedoes. So imagine all these ideas that Fulton was going to give to France, he gave to the England. And then they were the ones who actually won the battle. Trafalgar is a very famous battle that the United Kingdom actually won France on it. So it's just one example that the science sometimes says something is wrong, this is not right, this is not accepted, but in reality, yes, it was right, it should have been accepted, but in the time it was not fully understood. So basically is what Kardec is trying to tell the visitor. He's trying to tell, just because someone is a scholar, is someone that's very bright, is some kind of researcher, and that this person is saying spiritism is not a true thing, it's some kind of craziness, it does not mean that that scholar is right. And he also explained there are so many others that actually accept and understand it. We can even talk about reincarnation, for example. Reincarnation is not accepted by many religions and by a lot of scientists. But there is a huge amount of scientists that already collected enough data to prove this is a possibility. In science, they don't like to say this is what happens, but they like to say there are strong facts that say this is a true possibility. I'm just going to say a few names here. Dr. Ian Stevenson from Virginia, Dr. Jim Tucker from Virginia, and there are so many other doctors that deeply, deeply study and the catalog cases of reincarnation with little children. And these are scholars, they are psychiatrists. So it's not like anyone, it's someone that is really putting their career in check. But that's it, my friends. That's it for today. Thank you so much for being here with us. And if you can, join us at 9 p.m. So just in few minutes, we are going to do our God at Home, and then we are going to do the irradiations, the prayers and treatments for people that are sick or for your family members and friends at distance. Hello, Alicia. Nice to have you here with us. See you soon. Thank you.